Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We're going to get started. Welcome to the 5th annual Entrepreneurial Alliance Spring Business Competition here at Colby. I appreciate everyone taking the time to join us today. I know there's a lot going on this afternoon. It's been a busy day for a lot of folks. Today we have 6 entrepreneurial ventures pitching their business ideas to win the $15,000 in startup funds. Each individual team will have 7 minutes to pitch their venture, and businesses are judged today on their readiness to launch. We have 5 judges that will be making the decision today, and they are Tom Blair, Colby class of 1986. Tom, if you could please stand up to be recognized. We have Dominic Endicott, Colby parent, class of 2018. Also, Peter Osborne, Colby class of 2003. Leslie McDonald, Colby parent, 2018. And last but not least, we have David Young, ready parent, 2018-2018. There we go. I would also like to thank our EA Advisory Board members for their time, professional expertise, and guidance throughout the past 2 years as we continue to evolve this wonderful program. Those that are present today, I would also love for them to stand to be recognized. If you'd like to know a bit more about the judges and our advisory board, their bios are included in today's program. Lastly, I'd be remiss if I did not thank those who made donations for today's competition, both for the prize and for the competition itself. I would like to thank Joel Cutler, Colby class of 1981, Jim Satloff, parent 15 and also parent 19, an advisory board member, Dave Genovese, Colby class of 1989, and also a special thanks to Janice Kasman of the Kasman Leadership Fund, former Dean of Students and consultant with the Kasman Foundation. There she is. There we go. Janice, thank you. Okay, I was like, I knew she was here somewhere. I saw her out in the lobby. It is now my pleasure to introduce a Colby alumnus from the class of 1996 who was instrumental in getting the EA program off the ground 5 years ago. He's a successful digital media entrepreneur who graduated with a degree in history. He is also on one of our advisory board members and continues to be an enthusiastic advocate for the entrepreneurship programming at his alma mater. Mark Johnson, please come on up.
Hello. Thank you, Alyssa. Thanks. So Alyssa asked me to talk today on what entrepreneurship's role is in liberal arts. So the short answer is I have no idea. So instead, I'm just going to tell you 2 quick stories about my life, and hopefully it will shed some light on entrepreneurship's role in liberal arts, if we're lucky. So here we go. I was a history major, as Alyssa said, and came here to Colby and found myself somehow in science and technology classes. It just kind of happened. And wandered into Professor Fleming's room one day, and he was showing the class something called Mosaic, which was the forerunner of Netscape, a web browser. And I was captivated. I was done. It's all I wanted to do. Before then, I'd gone into the computer lab and gone on this thing called Gopher to find bootleg CDs of whatever bands I was into at the moment, or to write reports. After I saw Mosaic, this is all Mosaic all the time. I learned HTML, made web pages, and this had nothing to do with history or anything else that I was doing at Colby, really. When I got ready to graduate, I realized I didn't have many skills, but I was told by somebody along the way that building these web pages might get me a job in a place called San Francisco. So I decided this is a pre-LinkedIn era, and so in order to find somebody connected to an advertising job in San Francisco, I actually had to, see people in person and all that sort of stuff. And eventually I did find a connection, and it was a man named Courtney. And I bothered Courtney from my house in Waterville that I shared with 3 other people late at night and just talked his ear off about the internet. And Courtney let me do it for a while and didn't hang up on me. So, of course, I thought, as soon as I graduate, Courtney's going to give me a job. So I packed up my Jeep, and my girlfriend and I put those bootleg CDs in the back, some clothes and drove to San Francisco. But on the way, I stopped at a Barnes & Noble, and I picked up an Ad Age magazine because I wanted to learn this industry. And the headline said, Microsoft fires Anderson and Lemke. Well, Anderson and Lemke was Courtney's ad agency. Microsoft was their biggest client. My dream was dead. But we still went out west and just kind of followed our curiosity and intuition, which is really the point of this first story all the way through. And when we got there, we ran out of money, and I desperately called my parents trying to figure out any way that I could do anything or just to get some support from them. And they said, a man named Courtney keeps calling the house looking for you. So I called Courtney, I went to San Francisco, and he offered me a job. Before he told me what it was, what it paid, or what the title was, I accepted the job. I just said yes, because I knew that I was going to be able to follow my curiosity. This is the best job I ever had, and I was around tons of other people that were curious about the exact same thing I was. We moved fast, learned tons. I eventually got hired by another startup, then pretty quickly started my first startup out in San Francisco. Eventually started another startup, and now I'm able to do what I'm doing today, all based on following this curiosity and intuition that wouldn't have happened if I didn't wander into Jim Fleming's room back in, I don't know what year it was, sorry. My second story is about creating something. And creating something is hard. 5 years ago, I was in Boston in a hotel lobby, and I met with a Colby representative that asked to meet with me. That representative asked me to contribute to Colby in very traditional ways. And again, I talked her ear off about how I wanted to contribute to Colby. I wanted to help create entrepreneurship mindsets at Colby. I wanted to create this layer of entrepreneurial education. She listened and then referred me to somebody else. And turns out that there were a bunch of people here thinking the same thoughts and wanting to do the same things. So we created a pilot program. We started with what we had. We got people on Skype that would talk to students. We put together some modules with local entrepreneurs here in Waterville. And we put on the first business competition, and we got funding for that competition. We did the same thing for the next 4 years. But after that first year, I went out to some prominent alumni and pitched them on getting involved in this competition and in this program. They all said the same thing to me. Well, most of them. Most of them said the same thing. They said, Mark, that sounds really hard. That sounds like it's going to take a lot of heavy lifting, was what one particular quote was that stuck with me. So I wrote him an email and I said, I plan on being one of the heavy lifters. I plan on helping to get this program off the ground, and told him exactly what we were going to do over the next couple of years. And with the help of all of you and people who aren't here, we did that, and it grew. Year after year, it grew. So after last year's competition, which I couldn't be at, I found out from Alyssa that this individual, the guy who said it's going to take a lot of heavy lifting, he contributed, and he was involved in the Entrepreneurial Alliance, and that was victory to me. So I wrote back to him, and I attached the email from 3 years ago where he said, that sounds like it's going to take a lot of heavy lifting. And he wrote back right away, and he said, thank you for being one of the heavy lifters. So now that we have this program, it's a platform for us to grow this in this area, in this state, at this school. And I'm hopeful that we can do that. Entrepreneurship breaks down silos. It allows the local community to be able to interact with the academic community, with the students, with the faculty members, with alumni like myself, who all get to be involved and all get to be a part of this organic growth. And I can't wait to come back here in another 10 years, or 5 years, sorry, and see what we've done over 10 years. And I believe it will be bigger and better than it is today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mark. So now on to our competition and our pitches. So want to lead you through how this works. So each presenter will have 7 minutes to make their pitch. And after the pitches are complete, All presenters will be called back to the stage for a round of Q&A by our judges. Once the Q&A is finished, our judges will be asked to go to a deliberation room, at which time we will be hearing from some previous winners about what they have done since the EA and how the EA competition has affected their professional lives. So without further ado, we're going to ask our first competitor to the stage.
Imagine living in Albania, a post-communist country still struggling to transition from a centrally planned economy to a free market economy. You are one of the many poor and financially illiterate citizens trying to improve their financial lives. What do you do when you know that you cannot afford a professional financial consultant? Escaping your financial harsh reality seems impossible. My name is Kena Roka, and I'm a sophomore, majoring in economics with a concentration in financial markets. Having been exposed to the modern American and international world of finance, I've been astounded by the widespread financial literacy that exists among the Albanian population. This is the reason I'm here today. I want to share a vision that aims to improve the lives of financially literate citizens of Albania. The problem. A study conducted by the Bank of Albania clearly shows that the Albanian population lacks a basic understanding of the modern financial concepts and products. Prominently, the low-income citizens are the ones that are more financially literate. However, financial literacy is not only limited to this group, nor to this financial concept. As you can see, 62% of the low-income citizens have not even heard of a current saving account. Now, this graph above shows the extent of the financial literacy that exists among the general public. Isn't it shocking that in the 21st century, an era of technological revolution, there exists a country where more than half of the population has not even heard of a credit card? Furthermore, the study shows that only 37.6% of the population understand the concept of interest rate, while only 14.3% of them understand the concept of compound interest rate. In addition, access to financial educational resources is highly limited to high-income citizens and larger companies. Now, Red and Black Investments aims to improve the financial lives of low-income citizens by providing an accessible and affordable financial education. To this end, we aim to create a multi-dimensional platform in order to educate the general population in terms of basic financial concepts such as interest rate, compound interest rate, risk and return, diversification, to name just a few. Our platform enables people to get educated in terms of finance, closely plan their financial life with our representatives, and have an access to a wide range of educational resources pertaining to the area of finance. We aim to become the ultimate hub for financial education. Our educational resources include a library, boot camps, and seminars, and private consulting. In addition, our virtual platform enables access to interactive online classes and promotes the interaction among individuals, businesses, and households through our online forums. Red and Black Investment generates revenues through two main streams, through boot camp, seminar, and private consulting fees, and through online subscription fees. In addition, our costs include salaries, utilities, advertising, website maintenance, taxes, and insurance. Our pricing model is based on the scope and the duration of the service. Pricing depends on the depth and breadth of the educational experience. In addition, our online platform provides access to monthly, semi-annual, and annual online classes, and these subscription fees depend upon the duration. The team includes 4 other additional enthusiastic individuals, each educated at top-notch American and international universities. In addition, we have a senior mentor with a significant experience in the field of finance. The personal experience and the knowledge of the team members that they possess in the team make them ideally suited to tackle the problems that the business will face in the future. In addition, each team member has a specific and a unique and a vital role and position in the company that enables the company to run smoothly and effectively. Currently, there is no platform in Albania that provides a range of resources in an affordable manner with a professional approach. Our main competition comes through traditional forms of educational financial education that takes place in banks, universities, and professional private consulting firms. However, the aforementioned institutions are highly exclusive to high-income individuals and businesses, as well as students studying finance. We are also aware of the online resources available for financial self-education, yet most of them are in English, therefore representing a significant barrier for many Albanians. After a careful analysis with our team, and as well as our mentor, and analyzing the business and the market, we are able to come with the following projections for the first 4 years. We strongly believe that in the first year, 300 people will be using our resources and then grow to 600, 1,000, 1,500. In terms of small companies, we plan to grow from 10 to 25, 40, and 70. Now, taking into account our expected revenue and cost, we believe that our profit will grow from 7,000 the first year to 50,000 in the fourth year. After a long and difficult process, we were able to acquire a 1,200 square foot office space. However, the office space is not furnished yet. We aim to dedicate $8,000 to furnish the office with the necessary furniture, office supplies, as well as electronics. In addition, we have allocated $4,000 to build a streamlined and user-friendly red and black investment website in order to make our virtual presence more prominent in the market. Lastly, $3,000 is dedicated to make our services known to the larger audience through social media, local newspapers, and TV advertisements. Now, imagine yourself back in Albania. Things are different now. For the first time, you can escape the jaws of poverty and financial instability by educating yourself. This is not a dream. This is the reality that the Red and Black Investments has already started to build. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Malika Tassin, owner of Veriluso, that redefines ultimate luxury. Now, Veriluso is a company that Veriluso sells true luxury that combines sustainability, quality, and affordability with style. It revolutionizes the luxury fashion industry and leads a new era of mindful luxury fashion consumption. Now, we all want luxury products, don't we? But they come at the cost of harming animals, killing animals, harming the nature, and a heavy price tag, which is where Veriluso comes with a solution. Veriluso sells jute-made, guilt-free luxury products that are animal cruelty-free, environmentally friendly, carcinogen-free, high-quality, durable, yet stylish and affordable. Now, these are some of my products. I'm selling bags, shoes, and hats. I'm wearing the sandals also, and you can see the products over here also. Now, this is a $90 leather bag. Bought it a few months ago, and it already tore up in like a few months, and I promise I didn't tear it up on purpose. I really promise that. And this is a Veriluso bag, which no matter how much you pull or tug along, nothing's gonna happen to it. It's very light, yet very, very sturdy and stiff and durable. And it's also washable and biodegradable. And at the bottom, you can see the ship-in boxes that I ship all my products in. The white box is the special box that if you order as like a gift, we do that. And that is handmade, handwritten card that we give with every shipment. The aim is to ensure that our customers have a luxurious experience with Veriluso all throughout. That's my website screenshot. Now, who are our competitors? Well, virtually none. There is no one in the world that sells luxury, runway, fashion style, vegan accessories. Veriluso is capitalizing on an industry vacuum expected to boom to at least $500 billion in 10 years, and I'm not making that up. I have facts to base this on. And now, Veriluso is based in Bangladesh, and being based in Bangladesh, Veriluso has unique advantages like direct access to jute, the best natural fiber in the whole world, which is the best natural fiber for making apparels and accessories, also based on facts. Bangladesh also has the lowest quality labor cost in the world, And because the business is based in Bangladesh, the government is giving me an income tax subsidy and import duty subsidies, and also free research and training services. Coming to sales, we have already had direct sales of 20 bags in the Singapore city alone in the last 2 months. And we also received a new order of 75 bags and 25 pairs of shoes. We are launching our website, our e-store on July 1st, 2015. And we do social media-based marketing. So at the moment, we're doing everything online. Coming to our business model, our target consumers are 500 million people aged 14 to 40 who want high-end luxury products but are also environmentally and socially conscious. The pricing ranges are as follows. It's given. And we have a very special pricing of 20% discount for all students. It's to help students, the next generation leaders, to indulge in mindful consumption. We also have a give back program where we donate a school bag to a child in need for every bag that is purchased. And we have contracted with a subcontractor who's going to produce our bags. And we've chosen the subcontractor because he employs underprivileged women and also fair trades raw materials, which is a very important part of our mission. Our shipment is done by BPO, UPS, and DHL. These are a cost breakdown, and we have a healthy gross profit, as you can see. We have a very good markup of 400% on bags, 300% on sandals, and 230 to 800% on hats. We have a break-even point of 20 bags per year, and that is a conservative estimate. Our team consists of 4 main people working directly with the business, with operations, and we also have 3 advisors who are advising us on different aspects of the business. Now, the biggest question, what will I do with the $15,000? I'll be using it for inventory stocking, trademark costs, patent costs, and of course, website enhancements. Given all that, I hope you will help Verluso lead a new era of mindful luxury fashion and be a proud part of this revolution. Thank you.
Everyone, meet Jane. Jane is a 26-year-old from New York City who is your average shopper. Today, Jane had an awesome morning. She got promoted, so she decided to go home and reward herself by buying a new pair of shoes. That being said, Jane didn't know what type of shoes she wanted, nor did she know what brand. So she decided to go online shopping. First, Jane searched across the internet to see what shoes were out there. Throughout this process, she had 6 different categories of shopping websites to visit. Next, Jane needed a means to track and evaluate all her potential options. So she added some links to a Word document and bookmarked some products to her browser. Once Jane decided the exact pair of shoes that she wanted, she was not yet ready to make the purchase because now she had to find them at the lowest price. To do this, she used the help of a discount aggregator and a price tracking website. Now, as I'm sure many of you can suspect, Jane was very frustrated by the shopping experience, particularly because it took her 6 weeks to find the right pair of shoes at the lowest price, and she had to visit over 20 different websites. Now, I'm here today to tell you that Jane is not the only one who suffers from an inefficient, lengthy, and disorganized online shopping process. In fact, studies show that online shopping takes 6 times longer than shopping in store. In addition, the average shopper spends 80 days collecting information before making any major purchase. Now, to solve this problem, what we need is a one-stop-shop platform that incorporates all those shopping experiences people love into one centralized location. Welcome to Wanu. Wanu, which stands for What is New, is the first ever shopping computer application that users download to their desktop. So what this means is users will go to shopwanu.com and download the application for free, just like you would download a Spotify, a Dropbox, or Skype. The application updates automatically, eliminates the need for users to open up a browser and visit many different websites, and can simply, with one click, be opened and be ready to shop. So let's take a look inside to see what it looks like. Within Wanu, users can shop any brand store. So instead of having to go to a brand's website, they can access that within the platform. Users can shop through a product feed where our algorithms help them discover new brands and products that they otherwise would not have known about. Within the product feed, users can filter it down as specifically as they want. Wanu also offers a trending feed showing what products are most trending and popular across the platform. Every product within Wanu can be purchased directly within the application, and every product can also be added to one of our created wish lists. Now, what's unique about our universal wish lists are that they actually indicate to users when the price of a product changes, and users can also view a pricing graph to see if right now is really the best time to buy. Now, what my favorite part about Wanu is what I like to call the buy price. So let's say there's a shirt that I want that currently costs $100, but I'm only willing to spend $75 for it. So what you can do is you can set $75 as a buy price, and when that shirt hits $75 due to a discount or promotion, we'll either directly purchase it for you or send you a notification. So the whole point behind the buy price is to really automate the shopping process and make it that much more efficient for the user. Over time, we'll be building out our mobile and tablet version of Wanu. But what I'm most excited for within the space is taking that Wanu experience and integrating it with the in-store shopping experience. What this means is users will be able to scan any barcode of any product in a store and add it to a Wanu wish list to buy at a later time. In addition, brands will be able to send location-based discounts to users who are shopping in their store and be able to use those within the brick-and-mortar stores. So there's a huge value proposition for brands. First and foremost, we help brands acquire new customers and drive sales. But more importantly, we can tell brands on an individualized basis what products people want, what price they're willing to pay for those products, and over time, their intent or likelihood to actually make that purchase. With this data, brands can use it within the platform to target users with individualized discounts, promoted products, which is like buying prime real estate space within our properties, search engine marketing, which is paying to have your products come up higher within the feed, and advertisements. And lastly, the way Wanu works is by integrating into the back end of brands' existing websites. So what this means is brands retain complete control over shipping, credit card processing, order fulfillment, and customer relations. Basically, everything operates as if someone made that purchase off the brand's existing website. So our core target market are millennial shoppers just like Jane. To reach these shoppers, we'll first target online communities and major publications focused in fashion, tech, and products. Social media will also be a huge outlet for us because there we can run promotions on products, create a referral network, and have our participating merchants talk about Wanu to their own customers. And lastly, we will use targeted advertisements and email marketing. So what's great about Wanu is that we start making money on day one. Wanu takes an 8% cut of any purchase made within the platform. If a brand offers free shipping, we'll only take 4%. Over time, we'll build in other revenue streams, such as customer purchase fees, advertisements, promoted products, and search engine marketing, which I mentioned before, content marketing to our product news tab, in addition to the option to sell data in the future. So Wanu will operate in 3 different stages. In the first stage, we'll focus on integrating into platforms like BigCommerce, Shopify, and Magento. We'll also focus on establishing direct relationships with hip, up-and-coming fashion and accessory brands. Our goal is to launch with 100 brands within the platform. In the second phase, we'll be building on an integration to support any e-commerce platform. We'll add new features such as flash sales and product collections. And once we garner enough downloads of the application, we'll then start targeting some of the larger retailer brands within the industry. And lastly, in the third phase, we'll expand into other product categories. We'll release our mobile and tablet application and add features such as advertising, consignment, and product news. So I'm sure many of you are wondering, why am I the best person to run Wanu? Well, first and foremost, I've tried every solution out there in the market, and none of them solve the current inefficiency. I've created a product that's more user-friendly, allows every purchase to be made within the platform, and is truly a one-stop shop. In addition, I've written a 150-page thesis on Wanu, have experience in advertising, technology, and marketing selling software within a startup, and will be pursuing Wanu full-time when I graduate. Lastly, with your funds today, I will first use them for our first marketing push towards our first 100 users, 100,000 users. I'll use them to support all of our server needs when we launch. And the past few weeks, I've partnered with a development firm within New York City called Ryan and Carlos, who have helped launch over 30 different startups' products. Wanu will cost around 20 to 30 grand to build. With your funding today, in addition to me putting in some of my own money, we'll be able to get Wanu off the ground within the next 6 months and start building it as soon as next week. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone, and a special thanks to the Entrepreneur Alliance for setting up this great event. My name is Shamaya Ramos. I'm one of the founders of 3D Works. There are 2 things that are certain nowadays. Production of plastics is increasing worldwide, but the recovery of them is not increasing at the same rate. As a result, less than 10% of plastics get recycled. One of the reasons why this is happening is because production process of manufacturers are not adapted to recycled plastics. And this problem is amplified in developing countries. Though people there still do separate plastics from other waste, trash collectors always end up putting them at the same place, which are at the landfills. As a result, actual actions and market for sustainable practices are close to non-existent in these areas. So what do we do? Solution, 3D Works. 3D Works is a 3D printing firm located in the Philippines. The firm utilizes plastic waste to create novelty items and useful products. Some of these products are customized accessories and utensils fashioned through unique styles and designs. We thought of using 3D printers as a solution to the ever-growing plastic waste because we view this technology as innovation for recycling. As added benefit, 3D printers can be bought at a much lower cost nowadays compared to 3 years ago, and they keep on getting better and producing faster for every upgrade. To test its practicality, we turned to the Perpetual Plastic Project. The project was designed by Better Future Factories. It was aimed to create awareness about the practicalities and possibilities of recycled plastics. They created a production system that is both efficient and flexible. It can be applied anywhere in the world, especially in developing countries. On top of that, it can use many different kinds of plastics, even the mixed ones, as input materials. We managed to contact Better Future Factories, and they're willing to collaborate with us. We express our intentions, and they're willing to modify their project to a more productive, lucrative production system. To make this more cost-effective, my team and I created a business plan that is suitable to our industry. The business model is set on a per-order basis. In other words, we don't keep inventories because we want to make our products exceptional. So our business is set up in a way that our customers can buy our products online. To do so, we set up our designs in our galleries, in our website and social media like Facebook and Instagram. Once our customers manage to create their decision, they can then purchase their product through phone call, emailing, or visiting at our stores. In addition to our own designs, we welcome our customers to give us their own suggestions of their own designs, and they can upload them in our web platform or our social media. In addition, they can send us a description of their preferences, and our artists will try their best to meet their expectations. Once purchase is made, they can then pick them up at our store or through our personal delivery. To hone in our business plan, we focus on 3 key target markets: special events and occasions, small restaurant owners, and fashion enthusiasts. The bulk of our revenue will come from special events and occasions because we determined that people are willing to pay a premium just to make their events more special. In that case, we can set our prices higher than the traditional goods, but cheap enough for them to buy our luxurious-looking merchandises. The other 2 target markets, though low in revenue per order, we expect to have continuous flow of cash flow because we determined that having a unique feature expressed through fashionable accessories or tableware can set them apart from the rest. As we proceed along with our business, we plan to continually try to discover other potential target markets just to optimize our production. We found out that providing medical supplies and lab equipment can be profitable because the Philippines still have limited access to these products. We can provide them at a cheaper cost while maintaining proceeds. This then will result us to have more revenue. The initial investment to our enterprise will all go to capital acquisition. The bulk of our cost of capital are machineries and materials, which are set at $8,000 and $3,000 respectively. The rest will go to operation costs and maintenance costs. The operations costs will cover advertisement and management expenditure. This may seem a hefty amount, but we predict that within 2 to 3 years, we will cover the cost of our capital, in specifically machineries and materials. In 3 to 4 years, we'll break even, covering all our operation costs and fixed costs. Once we recognize profits, we'll reinvest them back to the company, and we'll try to restructure and expand the business by acquiring more industrial-grade machineries and hiring more skilled workers appropriate to the business structure. If you're looking for a business that is ready, I believe 3D Works is your business. 3D printing is a relatively new technology in the Philippines, and we can be the first to establish its presence. I successfully demonstrated you a feasible business plan that ensures quick and stable flow of income while maintaining practices of sustainable actions. In addition, I believe my team and I are the right people to manage this enterprise because we have the necessary skills and experience to effectively run this business. Moreover, we have a firm collaboration with Better Future Factories, so we have information regarding any upgrades or updates to our production process. Lastly, this enterprise will create opportunities and better options for the Philippines to create a movement towards sustainability. Thank you.
Does anyone like beer? Well, I'm going to tell you how I'm about to change it forever and make it better. My name is Christopher Abbott, and I'm the president and founder of Sprout. Sprout designs and manufactures home malting equipment for the home brewer. But to understand that, first I'm going to tell you about malt, craft beer, and why home brewers matter. Beer is made from water, hops, yeast, and malt. And malt is the fermentable in beer, creating the alcohol. It's also the primary source for the color and body of the drink. Malting is a partial germination process. A grain, primarily barley, is first steeped in water, tricking it into thinking it's spring. It begins to germinate, unlocking energy reserves, and then it's slowly dried down, carefully preserving newly available sugars and enzymes to be fermented into beer. For many brewers, malt is the soul of beer. The malting industry is highly consolidated, with 4 companies dominating the North American market. They've turned the soul of beer into a bland commodity, and they're selling the same thing to everyone from Anheuser-Busch to your local craft brewer to your neighbor homebrewing down the street. Craft beer has been exploding in the last few years, and today there are more than 3,400 breweries around the US. There are 3 core components of demand for craft beer: the fuller flavor, the wider variety of styles, and the ability to support local and independent businesses. And there's an exciting trend within craft beer in regards to malt. Industry-wide, we're seeing the beginnings of a shift from hop-heavy beers like IPAs, which have enabled craft brewers to distinguish their beer from industrial beer, towards malt-focused beers like pilsners and lagers, which a wider market demands. And today, when you walk into a liquor store, it's becoming harder and harder to choose what beer to buy. It's an increasingly crowded market, and brewers are needing to work more and more to differentiate their product on the shelf. Craft malt offers an exciting solution to this problem. Craft malt houses are small-scale regional malt houses connecting local farmers to local brewers, and they're enabling craft brewers to differentiate their beer through malt by building on those 3 core components of demand. See, grains are like grapes. They impart the subtle flavors of the place where they're grown into the drink they're put into. So craft malt offers the exciting opportunity of creating new flavors rooted in geographic places. Craft maltsters are also experimenting with new grains, like spelt and buckwheat, and this is enabling brewers to create new types of beer. And finally, there's nothing local about craft beer ingredients today other than the water, and craft malt dramatically changes that. Homebrewing is the small-scale hobby production of beer. Homebrewers are fanatics. They're beer geeks, and they're obsessed with creating the perfect beer. And excitingly, they've been at the heart of the craft beer boom. I visited over 35 breweries around Maine over spring break, and in talking to many of those brewers, I heard the same story over and over again of a group of friends who loved homebrewing, realized they could make good beer, perfected their skill on a small scale, and then went pro. Home malting is the small-scale hobby production of malt for use in homebrewing. Homebrewers are interested in home malt for many of the same reasons that craft brewers are interested in craft malt. Fresh, local malt means imparting the subtle flavors of your region's soils into your beer. It means creating new types of malt, and then new types of beer. And finally, it means control over another component of the brewing process, bringing a whole new definition to the perfect beer. But home malting is not a thing, because no equipment currently exists to consistently make high-quality malt at home, because malting is a highly temperature and moisture-dependent process. Sprout designs and manufactures home malting equipment for the home brewer. Initially, we'll bring 2 products to market. First, an automated unimalter system. You get to experiment with home malting, but when you can't be there, it takes care of itself. Second, an entry-level hand malting system. This easily integrates into existing home brewing equipment, turning your brew house into a malt house. Pictured below and right here on stage with me is our initial prototype. This is just the stainless steel body of it, and it has a false bottom floor that the grain sits on top of, and then various components like a fan, a heating element, and a valve attached to the bottom. I've talked to over 200 homebrewers across the country this spring about their interest in home malting and their price sensitivity. And from that, I'm projecting 4% of homebrewers to be initial adopters of our automated technology, which is a $120 million market. In the short term, I'm projecting an additional 12% of homebrewers to adopt this hobby once they've seen it proven, which is an additional $200 million market. In the longer term, I'm expecting hundreds of craft malt houses to open across the US, connecting local farmers to local brewers. I want to put the equipment of malting in the hands of thousands of passionate homebrewers who can hone their skills at home and then start their own craft malt house. And our equipment is highly scalable, and we want to grow with them. In the longer term, we're envisioning ourselves as a small grains technology and equipment company. 2/3 of caloric needs come from grains, and the local food movement has barely touched them, largely due to a lack of equipment. I've been an early employee at 2 pioneering grain startups in Maine, and I'm a farmer, a maltster, and a brewer. Anna Lindell is a recent Colby grad who brings marketing and sales experience to our team, and Mark Emmons rounds it out with the technology know-how. I had this idea in August while working at the second craft malt house in New England, and I developed an initial business plan in December. This spring, I've been completing an independent study in malting, studying the biochemistry of the process and building my initial prototype. This is functional, I've been malting with it, and I'm already producing malt of the same quality that I can buy in the store. This is looking down into the equipment while it's slowly being dried down. We'll continue with intensive product development over the summer and fall, apply for 2 patents for our core technologies, and work towards finalizing a design and kickstarting at least $100,000 next spring. We'll be using funds from this competition for product development, quality control equipment, and starting a patent search. Homebrewers have been at the heart of the craft beer boom, and now craft beer is demanding a similar deconsolidation of the malt industry through craft malt. But first, craft malt needs home maltsters in order to realize its potential. So I hope you'll join me in sprouting a new hobby to help drive craft malt, to support local agriculture, and boost craft beer even higher. Sprout, because your beer deserves better.
Last summer, my friends and I traveled to Eastern Europe. One of our destinations was Prague, where we had booked a place to stay through couchsurfing. One of our initial concerns upon coming to Prague was that we had no idea about the local restaurants, entertainments, or nightlife. But upon arriving to our host's apartment, we realized all of our worries were washed away. The host had displayed advertisements of local businesses owned by his friends on the walls of his apartment. Suddenly, we had an idea where to go in Prague and how to have a great experience. This business idea made me realize the potential inherent in it, but it also made me recognize its primitive implementation. I envisioned this advertising scheme growing in a more sophisticated manner and on a larger scale. I saw the potential in the growing sharing economy as a source of unconventional advertising space and decided to bring my vision to life. Thus, UAD was born. This is the problem. Conventional marketing has become an extremely expensive, arduous, and competitive process. Most companies waste their precious time and resources in conventional mainstream advertising venues. The need for unconventional advertising has become greater than ever. On the other hand, you have individuals leasing out and sharing their spaces that are not aware of the latent advertising potentials their spaces hold in the growing sharing economy. Offices, hostels, apartments, and homes are all places companies don't have an access to, which provide really effective marketing locations. In the background of all of these events, we have the growing sharing economy. It represents an area of great advertising potential, both due to its innovative nature, rising user base, and popularity. PwC estimates that globally, the revenues from the sharing economy sector will grow up to $335 billion by 2025, up from $15 billion today. Similarly, Airbnb predicts a growth in the number of their listings from 800,000 today up until $15 billion by 2025. UAD represents the ideal solution to this problem. We offer an online platform that enables advertisers to connect with companies willing to, companies needing advertising in unconventional sharing spaces. It also enables individuals to generate additional income through providing these advertising spaces. Finally, UAD enables guests to get an access to a wide range of services and products available through our platform. Our business model aims to match companies in need of unconventional forms of advertising with hosts and renters with a highly frequented number of visitors in their spaces. We aim to reach out to the businesses through business visits and social media, whereas attracting the advertisers themselves will be a multilateral effort which we plan to coordinate with the businesses within the sharing economy. The way we generate revenue comes primarily from 2 streams. The initial stream is by charging for the advertising venue provided by the hosts. The second stream is by optimization of the advertising service. By optimization, we refer to the use of user data to find the optimal target audience and advertising locations in order to achieve the desired marketing impact. Our pricing model is based on different packages that we offer to suit our clients' needs. The pricing model packages, the price of the packages depends on the two key factors. One of them is the duration of the advertisement, the second is the quality of the advertisement. By the quality of the advertisement, we refer to a set of metrics we attach to each particular advertising venue, such as rating on the sharing websites, frequency of hosts, and location. And in terms of pricing the optimizational service, the price will be dependent on the scope of the target audience, meaning the specificity of the target audience. Certainly, a company trying to advertise shoes in New York will face a lower advertising price than a company seeking to advertise shoes to, say, young Asian upper-class women in New York. Oh, sorry. Our estimated anticipated costs include taxes, office supplies, and wages, platform maintenance, and others. Our profit is attained by taking 30% of the total monthly revenue minus our aforementioned costs. These are our partners, target partners, and businesses we intend to coordinate our advertising efforts with. In order for our business to scale, we intend to leverage the platforms and resources of our partners, mainly their user data. Thanks to Colby's strong alumni network, we were able to communicate and present the idea to Airbnb's product managers. They recognized UAD as a unique opportunity to fill an existing gap in their platform and were keen to discuss the implications of introducing UAD into the sharing economy. We are still in the process of integration and coordination of the platform with Airbnb, and as such, we have dedicated most of our resources towards that. However, we have also reached out to different other companies in the sharing industry, namely Couchsurfing, ShareDesk, and HomeAway. The team is composed of 5 dedicated and enterprising students from Colby College and beyond. With rangers across several wide disciplines, the team brings a wide range of experiences and skills to the table. In addition, we have assigned clear positions in order to tackle the responsibilities that will be forthcoming during the launch period and beyond. Finally, our senior advisor provides us with the necessary advice and counseling for us to reach our maximum potential. The initial analysis of the competitive landscape shows that no company is targeting the market in this sort of manner. We are aware of certain occasions where individuals have engaged in small-scale advertising through sharing companies. However, all of these efforts have been individual and small-scale, and our company aims to enlarge the scope of these efforts by providing a centralized platform. And however, we do realize that there are companies that can serve as potential competitors to UAD, such as Advertise, Adzuki, and Brand Your Car. However, the uniqueness and differentiation of our company is within the fact that we operate within the sharing economy, specifically in the space sharing economy. These are our projections for the upcoming 3 years of our business based on a careful consultation with our senior advisor, team meetings, and basic market analysis. We intend to see a growth from 300 to 800 to 2,500 in the number of hosts we serve. As for the number of the companies we service, we tend to see a growth from 15 to 50 to 150 in the first 3 years. And finally, a growth in profit from 33,000 to 96,000 to 340,000. We strongly believe, given the imminent growth of the sharing economy, the dedication of our team, and the unique market opportunity we are presented with, that these figures present a reliable and accurate estimate of our growth in the future. Upon receiving the grant, we will allocate $9,000 immediately towards construction of a prototype platform. Next, we will allocate $5,000 towards marketing that prototype platform to our partners and potential investors. The goal of the prototype is to secure additional investing into the platform and accelerate our growth, and accelerate our entry into the market. A part of the funds will also be allocated towards reaching out to hosts and other potential advertisers that would serve as places of the advertisements. Finally, we intend to allocate, we strongly believe that this strategy of a two-pronged attack of prototyping and advertising will enable us to enter the market more effectively and dominate it in the future. Finally, we are assigning $1,000 to miscellaneous costs, which we predict, such as travel costs and legal costs. Today marks the beginning of a revolution, a marketing revolution. It starts here with UAD. Thank you for your attention.
So that officially concludes our presentations. We're going to now ask the judges to take their time to go deliberate. They're going to be in the deliberation room for, Q&A. I'm skipping ahead. Oh my gosh, look at me. I'm so ready to find out who wins. Here I am. So what we're going to do is we will, all of the contestants, please come back down for the Q&A.
Guys, thank you very much for all of your presentations today. It's very exciting, and you all have great energy, and obviously have done some great work to be here. I just thought I'd start off with just one question, and we'll just pass it around as we go. But with respect to Vlad with Red and Black, I was just curious, what is the thinking in terms of the amount of people you'll need to execute a platform like that? It's basically going to be a lot of boots on the ground, and I'm just concerned that the dollars that you have to spend might be a little difficult to have that kind of execution. Could you talk a little bit about that?
The initial idea included something more than financial education. It was more of financial planning and projections and investing, stuff like that. But with the help of the mentors, I was able to narrow it down to only the financial educational part. And I believe that my target group, which is low-income citizens and small businesses, and considering the fact that they really are financially literate, we do not need a lot of resources to induce some basic concepts of finance. Therefore, through some small boot camps and online classes and seminars, I believe that it's really feasible to teach a few individuals, families, or small businesses some basic financial concepts, like I mentioned, interest rate, compound interest rate, risk and return, inflation, stuff like that. So I see it as a clear, feasible idea with no potential for risk of being in danger of not being able to implement it. Yeah.
So basically, it's like building a curriculum that you're going to basically market, in effect. Yeah. Thank you.
Congratulations, everyone. It's really great. I enjoyed the presentations. Really good job. Vera Lusso.
Hello.
Hello. So I'm interested in hearing about a little bit more on where you plan on initially targeting for sales. Seems like you have some initial markets. How do you expect kind of your target market to grow? Where do you expect to focus? Is your focus going to be initially quite narrow? Is it going to be geographically diverse? And how do you expect it to kind of snowball into a larger company?
So I'm going to be starting with only the US market for the first 1 to 2 years. And depending on the data that we get about how consumers are liking it, we're going to be developing our products more. And then after 2 years, we want to go more into the European market. And I'll be spending the whole year, next academic year, in London and all over Europe. So I'll be doing a marketing campaign over there, and also will be trying to promote a little bit about what the product is. And because the business is very much e-commerce based, we're going to do all marketing on social media. And I've studied in Europe for 2 years, so I have a lot of connections there. I have a lot of friends and alumni over there. So most important, first basic markets are US, and then go towards Western Europe after 1 to 2 years. And then we want to expand to Singapore, South Korea, and Japan, if possible.
And the products are manufactured in Bangladesh, right?
Yes.
And as a fully completed package comes to the US. And can you talk a little bit about how the importing works?
Yeah, so you go to a website and you order a product. We provide standard free shipping on that. We have a subcontractor that we have contracted with, and we take like 50 to 100 inventory at a time. And when you order a product, we put it in the box, and we put our handwritten letters and everything in the dust bag so that it gives a luxury feel. And then we ship it via BPO, Bangladesh Postal Office, which is a very low rate of shipment, but we can also still track it. And according to US laws or European laws, as long as it's a personal purchase, we don't have to pay import duty on it. So as long as I have the invoice that it's a personal purchase, there is no import duty on it.
Thanks.
That's going to be free, so you're shipping for free?
Yes, standard shipping for free for around $4 for 500 grams and 1 kg for like $8 under Bangladesh Post Office, the post office shipment. And if you want like an expedited shipment, then we use UPS or DHL, but then the customer pays for it.
Great. This is Dominic. Congrats, everybody. I think the great presentations. I have a question for Jordan of WANU. I'm sort of curious about why you don't go mobile first. I think you said that your plan is to wait till year 3 to go mobile. You could make an argument that this plays really well in the mobile context. I'm sort of curious about that choice.
Okay. Yeah, so right now, out of the whole e-commerce market, which is a $350 billion industry, mobile is only growing at, I believe, 5% more than e-commerce on the internet. In addition to mobile only makes up 20%. So, the idea right now is, everyone's so focused on mobile that, being a desktop application and coming in that way, there's not really any competition there. So being able to come in there where there's no competition and everyone else is focused on mobile is kind of the whole ideal behind that. And the fact that that's where the majority of money is there. So the mobile application hopefully will build out within the next 2 years or so we won't be that far behind everyone else within that space.
And then the following question is, how ready are you to go? So how many integrations have you already done, and how quickly could you actually go to market?
So I haven't actually signed on any brands yet. The past 2 weeks, I brought on the developers. This past week, we just built out our product roadmap. So the ideal first is to build out the integration just for Shopify. These next few weeks, I'll be focusing on signing on some of 10 to 15 Shopify brands to be our beta test partners. We're going to start off small just like that, just to see what they like, just see what they don't. And once we can really work out the kinks there and get it, tightly knit and down, then we'll start expanding and building into integrations into other platforms like Magento, BigCommerce, Squarespace, and other platforms like that.
Hi, it's Dave Young here. Now, not that I could really enjoy a nice malt beer right now, but Christopher, let me ask you a question. Tell me a little bit more about what makes your setup from a potential patent unique.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because from the photo, you basically have a vat and, some heaters and a fan or two. So tell me where the differential technology is here to kind of give you enough time to get something out there that others aren't going to copy right away.
Yeah, so the malting industry, it's this oligopoly, and the technology isn't very up to date there. I visited the second largest malt house in North America in Minnesota back in January, and they have 5 different malt houses on their property, and the newest one is from 1980, and most of them are from the 1940s. And so I think there's space within that for specific components of the processes to patent. Specifically, what I'm focused on is CO2 extraction and a decalming apparatus. So when grains are beginning to grow, first little rootlets come out of the bottom, and those then dry down when the whole grain is dried down, and then you take those rootlets off. They have bitter flavors that you don't want to add to the beer. And so first specific method for taking those grains off, taking those rootlets off, which I've designed, and I have some 3D SketchUps of, and now I'm going to be working over the summer in building out that part of the prototype. I do not have that built right now. And then second, grains, when they're germinating, they're taking in oxygen and they're putting out CO2. And the CO2 is heavier, it settles to the bottom of the container, and you need to take it out so that it's not an anaerobic environment, and the grains can continue to breathe, respire, and grow. And so additionally, similar to this decalming apparatus, it'll be a CO2 extraction method that will be integrated into the equipment.
And just as a follow-up, is there a portion of that, if you will, it's almost a process technology, that you would consider licensing out at some point?
Potentially. I think it sort of depends on where the craft malt house industry goes. Yeah.
I want to add my congratulations. They were all great presentations. Shama, I have a question about, I understand that part of your business is to promote recycling of plastics, but how are you going to collect your raw materials to use in your business?
Well, that's the interesting part. like as I said, mentioned before, that trash collectors end up putting all these recycled plastics, these plastics and trash together in the landfill and everything. Before they will get there, we're gonna be the first one to go to schools. We already managed to create a connection to schools, businesses, and small restaurant owners that we say like early in the morning, if you have like plastics, we're gonna be grabbing all of those, and then we're gonna put them to the place that we're gonna create our materials. But instead of like stockpiling all these plastic bottles and stuff in our facility, we'll be starting to clean, shred, and create inventories of extruders for our 3D printers. So we're not inventorying or stockpiling trash or like plastics. I mean, we stockpile spools made from our extruders, so that by the time when we get our orders, we have inventory of our extruders, so that like we know that, oh, they need this many, taking for example, wine glasses. We determine that probably only 2 or 3 spools. Okay, we have about 2 or 3 spools in our inventory. We can start going for that, and then we're gonna start making more spools.
You also mentioned that one of the businesses you looked into said that they can mix plastics in this process? Or are you going to have to separate the types of plastics you use for your different products?
Oh, I have to some of the products I have to separate them because some are denser than the others. The denser ones can be used for more durable products, and the less dense ones are like just for small fashion accessories, like kind of like small rings or something that is like can be used just one time. And some of these plastics are mixed, so it's hard sometimes to separate them, so we just take in consideration the majority of this type of plastics. We already determined kind of like the bottle caps have the densest plastic material, so we're gonna stockpile a lot of those for much like durable plastics. Just like taking for example, this tie I have is made of dense plastic, and I wanna use it multiple times, so it's working out for a while. Like it.
Then one last question. Have you considered whether there are any safety issues with using this recycled plastic for food?
Nope. That's why we went to the Better Future factories. We asked this same question to them, and they said like we tested out with people, and they said like no problem. It's like the same as like any other plastic stuff in our shelf, and they try to test it out. Like they try to clean it as much as possible, and then like they try to use small amount of chemicals to get to thoroughly clean these recycled plastics. And besides, in the beginning, these plastics that we collect, they're relatively already clean in the beginning. They're not mixed with other waste.
I just wanted to follow up on something with Vera Lusso. So in your business concept, I remember these 3 words: mindful, luxury, fashion. Did you think, depending on market, whether or not the notion of luxury was as necessary as the idea of mindful?
I think, so this is what I believe, that luxury products are a really good quality product, and also something that we are proud of to carry with ourselves. But they also have the guilt kind of idea associated with that this bag is made of leather, for which you had to kill these animals. So I want to be carrying something proudly, but I also want to be proud of the story behind the product, that it has helped to build lives of a lot of women. It is creating, it is giving bags to another school child, and it is not causing harm to any animals or the environment. So it's like that's why it's called true luxury on the inside and the outside.
Yeah, it will be interesting, I think, as you explore the market, to consider how much the word luxury is actually needed, or that concept, because really you're driving at a very interesting idea around mindfulness and fashion.
Well, I wanted to include luxury because we already have, we do have a lot of fair trade websites and stuff who do sell ethnic products, which are mindful products, but they don't really have the look or really have the brand idea about it. And I really want to create a luxury brand idea that whenever you purchase something from Veruloso, you saw we have very luxury boxes that it comes in, a dust bag. We have a very nicely handcrafted letter that comes in. So everyone wants to be, customers want to be treated specially, and we want to give that service to our customers. But we also want them to indulge in like something that they will not feel guilty about. So I don't think it's necessarily wrong to indulge in luxury, you know? Yeah.
I had a question for Amar of UAD. I think it's a very interesting idea, and I had two questions. One is, what's the standard format? Are you thinking that this would be sort of something that would be printed and literally put on the face or on the wall of somebody's house? Or are you thinking about something electronic, or what are the range of formats that you're thinking about?
Primary types. This is working. The two primary types of advertising we're thinking about are posters and banners in terms of printed form, and then also product placement within the companies themselves. One of our initial ideas was, a scenario we imagined was, for example, like a tech company, say Google, would want to make a test of their product to see if the initial market response would be good. Then we would be able to find places in the location they would desire to place the products, and for the customers to test them and perhaps submit reviews as well to us.
Interesting. And then the other question is, which is sort of related to your last point, is how much of this do you see as local content, so advertising a restaurant in the area, versus global content, such as, say, a product placement for Google?
Initially, we expect to get outreach from local companies and startups, because these are the companies that need this type of advertising the most. These are the companies in critical need of unconventional and fast advertising. But we plan to expand our scope to larger companies, to include larger brands, specifically in the areas of technology, entertainment, and media.
And when you say you're going to spend $8,000 on a prototype, what does that mean?
It means to develop It means that we are going to use our web developing team to construct a prototype in terms of a website and a mobile platform that we will present to our potential investors and partners in order to show them how it works. And then we'll be able to test in terms of coordination. We're still in the process of coordinating with Airbnb in terms of either API integration with their platform or existing as an independent platform. But if we come upon agreement, then we will be able to test this system as an independent platform, or how if it coherently behaves with Airbnb's and other sharing platforms' current setups as an API.
And have you actually tested this in the market? I mean, have you tried it out with any Airbnb customers where you've tried to, have something printed and made money from it?
We have reached out to several of Airbnb's hosts, primarily since we were working with Airbnb, reached out to forums and social media to see the response of the customers and potential idea, and it's been so far positive. A lot of users have expressed interest in hosting this kind of content in their apartments.
Okay, thanks.
And one more follow-up, Amar. Have you done any initial surveying as to what the appetite for the renter would be to have advertising, in the rental? Is that something that, if I'm walking into a place, do I want to see a big Pepsi banner, or do I want something that's, looks just like my house and is calm like that? Do you have a sense as to what the appetite is?
We have also talked about the idea of preserving the brands of these companies and their images, as well as being places to stay at home. And the idea is to make our advertising in a more passive form, but also in an elegant, accessible way. Thus, we are able to use the banners and posters as one indirect way, but another is what a company would do is use the product placement to effectively gain their market audience. Ideally, the customers and hosts we've talked to so far have expressed interest, mostly in the sharing economy, that their customers would not mind having this as long as it was a form of non-invasive advertising.
And a question for 3D Works. Can you explain the partnership that you have with the Better Future Factory? Is it an informal partnership? Are they part of your company? Do they have any rights to your revenue stream? What's the relationship?
For now, the relationship that we have is that they are willing to provide us information regarding their testing of their perpetual plastic project, and they are also willing to give us the blueprint of their machinery. And for now, it's somewhat like informal, but once we manage to establish this, we'll try to make more connections with them, and then we'll certainly give them some revenue for their testing and everything, because we want to be the first one to, or like to be the first one on the list for them to like try to test out the products that we want. Because for now, the Better Future Factories are mostly designers of production processes in general, and we want them to be part of our business as in production process designing, to make them like more efficient, more sustainable, and probably will last long.
So they would be eventually a form of kind of outside consultant for you?
Yes.
Hey, Jordan, question. With respect to the development of your app, both the mobile and the desktop, the guys you're using in New York, have they developed that kind of application in the past? I mean, it's major coding, and for about $8,000, it seems like it'd be very tough to do, considering all the things you're trying to integrate.
Right. So they've, not specifically within e-commerce, but they did a similar platform within travel. But a lot of the platforms that we're integrating into, like Shopify, Magento, BigCommerce, they have existing APIs that are pretty easy to integrate within. So they also have experience with, the way we're building it is basically coding out the website first and then disguising that website as an application, and they've done that for one other company as well.
So it's, in some ways, it's kind of like a kayak.
Exactly, yeah. Except users will be able to purchase the items within the platform instead of being redirected to a brand's actual website.
And also the revenue streams that you're contemplating, 8% of the gross revenue. How did you come up with that
Absolutely.
number?
So basically, 8% is what brands are willing to pay out if, like if someone puts a link on a blog or maybe in a Facebook post and someone else clicks on it and eventually buys the product. Brands are willing to pay out that affiliate link of 8%, typically, many of the larger brands. And also, speaking to the CEO of this brand called Huckster, which was a price tracking website. It went under over the summer, but they had a lot of direct relationships with some of the larger brands out there. And talking to her, she said 8% is generally right around what they like to give.
Thanks. And I guess at this point, you're saying there's been nobody's tried to develop something like this, or who would be the closest to this business model that you're?
So the closest competitors are Wanilo, Spring, Fancy, Wish. So basically what they are, they're discovery shopping platforms, so they allow users to shop through a product feed. You can create some wish lists. They don't track the price of products, and you can see brand stores. But what they don't allow you to do, which we hope to build in over time, is take in all those other shopping experiences, such as product news, flash sales, product collections, and things like that. In addition, a lot of their interfaces are very difficult to navigate. So to make a wish list, for example, you save a product within the feed, and then you have to click into your profile and go back into the wish list, which is really hard to navigate. Whereas within Wanu, we basically created the interface to basically mock like Facebook and Gmail, so it's a lot easier to use than a lot of these brands out there. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. With respect to UAD, just another question. You said you've been talking with Airbnb, and they're pretty much talking about integrating your strategy. I mean, could you talk a little bit more about that?
We have reached in contact with Airbnb through Colby's alumni network, and we have set up several meetings, and we had discussions with their product managers in terms of how we would integrate the platform. So currently, the two ideas we're bouncing around right now are either, as I mentioned, API integration with their platform, so as an extension on the website, which will allow us to get an access to a better range of information. That's one ideal solution. And also, as an extension, it would be aesthetically pleasing for hosts to be able to simply select advertisements that they want to display using Airbnb's existing platform, as well as to users to be notified that this host provides advertisements in his apartment, as to preserve some user experience and for them to know what it does. The second option we have been talking to them is acting as an independent platform, but also with cooperating with them in working with the other sharing businesses in the industry, but owned by Airbnb as a company. We've still bouncing around those ideas with both their legal team and their product managers.
And it sounds like, so if you were to do a physical advertising in somebody's home that they're renting, at a ski area, let's say, I guess then you'd have to logistically get these banners or posters delivered and put in. So that's kind of a logistical issue, I would imagine. Have you thought about how that actually happens?
We have thought about the logistics of the transportation of the products, and ideally, our first step would be to allow the companies themselves, depending on the locations. If we're talking about local companies in this case, this situation is very easy to accomplish, simple transportation. In terms of transporting to different locations, that would increase the price of the advertising location for the company and calculate the costs of the transportation within the advertising price. So say that if the geographical difference from a company versus its advertising location will also make a difference in the pricing.
Great. Thank you. And Sharma, a question with respect to the 3D printers that you'd be buying to facilitate your strategy. It sounds like you'd be doing some volume, so I assume you're going to need a pretty big number of those units, correct?
Or in the beginning, it's more of not much volume. It's more of like small amounts of products. It's like, well, for sure, when it comes to special events and occasions, like one of my friends already made a design where they can create one-time printing, but produce approximately 50 forks. It's like they created like a kind of like a Lego set where you can just break down piece by piece, and then here you go. You get enough forks by just one printing. You don't have to like print one fork and then take it out, one fork again, take it out. No, our designers are specialized architects to create like efficiency.
Thank you. That's helpful.
So I've got one for Red and Black. Instead of a subscription model, did you consider a more like an ad revenue type model? I know it'll result in a little bit, lower initial revenues, but any thoughts as to that type of model, particularly because that will, remove the barrier to low-income folks using the services even further?
The idea is to make the financial education accessible and affordable. And I believe at the beginning we can start off by not charging high prices in order to include more people into the platform. You have a point, like if they don't have the resources, this would be the fee that we charge would be a barrier for them. But our goal is to bring it as low as possible in order for them to be able to jump in the platform. And I believe that a lot of businesses, they have revenues and they generate revenue, but from what I know from firsthand being in Albania is that a lot of them have money, but like they don't really have access to the educational part of finance in order to improve their business. And a part of the work we have to do is that to convince them that they need the service. And I believe that's not going to be a lot of problem, but yeah. Our idea is to charge, to have as many people as possible in both boot camps and seminars in order for us to generate revenue without them putting a lot of financial pressure on them.
Would you consider putting ads, for instance, for Albanian banks or whatever on maybe the online portion of the educational tool for supplementary income?
Our educational platform includes online classes like Khan Academy, but for finance in Albanian, and also videos of our boot camps and seminars so people can have access to this wide range of educational resources. And in addition, we have monthly. Also, we provide access to educational books in finance that need to be translated to Albanian. Yeah, our monthly fees are around $10, and then semi-annual or $50, and then annual fee is around $80.
Okay, thanks.
I have a question for Christopher or Sprout. Your main revenue model is a hardware-based one. You're selling your hardware. Would you consider selling the malt And I'm thinking about that for two reasons. One is because it feels like maybe you're still working on some pieces of the hardware, whereas presumably you could start selling malt right away. So have you thought about that as an alternative revenue model?
No, because at the scales that I'm operating at, I could never really make very much money. And small scale craft malt houses, they need to operate at about 2 tons for a batch size in order to be able to make money. And I'm focused on this really small equipment that's 10 to 20 pounds in a batch. And in working at this craft malt house in Maine last spring and summer with the recent Colby alum, that was where I really realized that definitely there's lots of opportunity in malt, but more of a niche problem to attack in this situation, where I think there's a lot of opportunity for a business, is the equipment. Because there are about 20 malt houses, craft malt houses, that have opened around the US since 2010, and all of them are running into the same problem of no equipment. That's really their number one barrier to entry into getting into this business, both because they have to design it. They want to make malt, and they have to design and figure out how to make this equipment and then start making malt. And second, that they can't perfect making malt on a small scale. They're putting in $100,000 to build a piece of equipment, and then they're only starting to figure out how to make malt at that scale. And so I think that the real opportunity is focusing on the equipment, and really making an incredible product that can consistently make really high quality malt, and then distributing that to lots of passionate homebrewers.
Okay, so then sort of a follow-up question. What's your relative cost advantage versus the next best alternative, right? If you're saying that the next best alternative is for a malter to spend, $100,000 and yours is $2,500, maybe you're underpricing it. If that's
Sorry, that's a miscommunication then. So there are 2 different types of equipment. I'm making one for the home brewers. So it's someone who wants to make 10 pounds of malt and then brew 5 gallons of beer and then drink that with their friends. So that's the initial market. Longer term, craft malt houses are already opening and will continue to open. They operate at like a 1 ton to 2 ton piece of equipment, right? And so my equipment, the basic ideas and the technology behind it, it's very scalable. So maybe 5 years down the line, then we're thinking about building that larger equipment. But right now, we're really focused on the home brewer.
But still, the question would be, what is the next best alternative? So if you did not exist, if your option was not on the table, and somebody wanted to produce that product in smallish batches, what is the minimum cost it would take them to be able to do that?
You can't make malt at home now. There isn't another option. Home malting is not a hobby. So, it's a temperature and moisture dependent process, and maybe I've heard and seen YouTube videos of people trying to jerry rig up some setup, and it doesn't work. They're gonna have various problems, and then they're not gonna make a consistent product.
So I guess third question, I'll shut up. If you're really substituting into a $100,000 piece of equipment, why not start in the upper end of the market and produce something for $20,000 that is much better than the next best alternative for the people that are in business? So you're kind of going from the bottom and hoping to work your way up. Is there an alternative to start more in the middle and work your way down?
I think, there is, but that would be starting. Okay, so do you mean selling equipment to the craft malt houses? Yes. I think that the argument against that is that it's much more capital up front. Doing lots of product iteration and really mastering the technology for a $100,000 piece of equipment, that's a lot more capital up front to be able to really pull that off. And so I think it makes more and second, that craft malt, that's a huge opportunity, but also home brewers, that's a huge opportunity in and of itself. There are so many homebrewers around the US who are so passionate about this and are they might start out with a few $100s into this hobby, but it's the type of thing that as you get into it, you realize you can get that $200 piece of equipment and that one, and it's gonna improve your experience. And then eventually you're posting on homebrew forums about how you just put $6,000 into your home brewery in your garage. And so I think there's a huge opportunity at that scale, and that longer term that makes more sense in supporting craft malt and building that market for the future, because Right now, you have to be kind of crazy to try to raise $600,000 to start a craft malt house without actually knowing that you can make malt, right? And so it makes more sense to put the equipment in the hands of people who already want it, who already have the money for it, right? And then they can perfect their process on that small scale, and then that's a much less risky path to starting a craft malt house.
Krinar, I apologize if you've already said this and I missed it, but where are your financial programs going to come from? How are you going to collect these educational programs that you're going to?
The idea is to create some separated boot camps, seminars, and private consulting sessions where we touch a certain element of a certain financial product or a certain financial concept. But the educational program, I bet, that will be the one that we'll use from the American systems in basic financial books that are available for corporate finance and smaller scale finance, and we'll translate it and adjust it to the needs of people and the needs of the market.
Okay, so
But we don't have anything like specifics right now.
okay.
Yeah.
You'll be taking other programs that are already
Exactly,
available.
and adjusting
in
it to the
US.
needs of the.
Okay.
Do we have time for one more?
One last question. How big is the home brew market for craft beer? Because you're saying it must be as big as that or bigger than all malts, just not getting going. How big would you say the opportunity is from a market perspective?
In terms of buying the equipment?
Right. If there's something for 2,500, how many could you sell? Since it's a kind of a new industry.
Yeah. So to start out, we're focused on, or we can be a profitable business if we're selling about 200 units per month of this automated equipment. And I mean, the numbers that I put up there are based off of talking to over 200 homebrewers around the US over the spring about interest in home malting. And so for automated equipment for the initial market, which is about $120 million, I think it's about 60 or 70,000 units to move initially.
And I was actually saying, how big is the hops market? Because
The hops market?
yeah, in terms of home brewing and purchase for equipment to do that. That'll give you a sense of how big this could be, I guess, is my point.
Okay, I mean, there also isn't an equivalent small-scale hop option within the market. Within the homebrewing market, it's really just the equipment to make beer. There's really no equipment options for growing or making the equipment, or excuse me, making the ingredients that are going into your beer.
Thank you. Appreciate it. You guys were great. Everything was really well done, and we appreciate your taking the time. Good job.
So what we'd like to do now is we would like to have the judges please go to the deliberation room just outside of the auditorium. And while we're waiting patiently for the decision of the judges, we do have a couple of additions to the program for you for our 5th year anniversary. One of the additional players in today's event that we did want to mention to you is that each of the businesses today had an alumni mentor. As there, you saw one of them being mentioned as a senior advisor. So just wanted to recognize these folks that were advisors to all of the students in the competition, all Colby alum that Erica and I actually just met out in San Francisco back in December. So glad to have all these West Coast folks on board and participating in the program. What we'd like to move to now is we'd like to take the time, again, where it's the 5th year now of the EA competition, to take the time to have you hear from a couple of graduates that were past winners in the competition, to hear a little bit more about where they are now and what they're doing with their company since winning the EA. And first up, we would love to welcome Matthew Boyes-Watson, also one of our advisory board members, to talk to you a little bit about his company and where he is today. Thank you.
here, or do you, I can do handheld? Yeah, handheld. Okay, just make sure you put it right in your mouth.
Hi, my name is Matthew Boyes Watson, and I was lucky enough to participate in 2 business competitions, the inaugural year in 2011, and then lucky enough to win it in 2012, and lucky enough to be continuing with the company, which has changed a lot since 2012. So initially I pitched a apartment rental startup, and that's what I'm doing as well today. Along with Raleigh Werner, who couldn't be here, who's a 2011 grad. We've unfortunately added a Middlebury grad to the team, along with a couple folks from MIT. And so, yeah, through an innovative series of failures, we've actually arrived at something pretty recently in the last 3 months that's really clicked in the apartment rental market. So what we do is we connect renters with real estate agents, but we do it based on matching. So we match you, if you're looking for an apartment, with a real estate agent who is a neighborhood specialist in the area you're searching and has the most apartment listings that match what you're looking for. And it's a little different from going onto Craigslist and sort of shooting off emails to random folks. It's going pretty well. This past month, 45,000 people used our content and tools, and we did 500 client connections. So it was a good month for us. And we're looking at continuing in Boston for the next 3 months and making connections to Chicago and Philadelphia right now. And so Elisa wanted me to talk a little bit about what the EA did for launching sort of this endeavor. And it was definitely integral beyond the fantastic alumni mentors, the workshops, the $15,000, which was really key. But I think what was most fantastic for me about the program was it's pretty unique that a college or a university, they're designed to equip their students with everything they need to go and succeed at their various endeavors. But it's pretty unique that they empower them to the degree that the EA does and then trust them with something like $15,000 to really go and see if the concept that you created while at school has any legs in the real world. And that's a pretty fantastic opportunity. The folks who pitched today had more traction and sophistication than we did when we were pitching a couple years ago, which is a testament to the program. And so I hope, wish all the best for you folks. And I would say the one thing that I learned is that $15,000, if you can think of it as $15,000 of mistakes you're gonna make that somebody else is bankrolling, that'll sort of put you in the right mindset. It's gonna be a wild ride, and whatever you pitched is not gonna be what you go with in the end, but just stick with it. And then the last thing I'll do, because I can't help it, is everybody who's, for the contestants, everybody who's outsourcing development, that's a great way to have somebody lift a lot of that 15K off you really quickly. So just consider focusing on whatever traction you can get manually and finding a co-founder who's technical. Thanks a lot.
So just bear with us for 1 second. We're going to bring back Joey Tagliente, class of 2013, who's one of the past winners, and he's going to talk to you a little bit about what was his business then, GoPinion, that has evolved into Spot. So just bear with us. We have to bring him in via Skype because he's in New York City doing kind of a round of angel funding. So let's see if we can bring him up before we put him on video.
Hello.
Hi, Joey. It's the EA
Hi, how are you?
competition calling.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
So we can see you, unfortunately, but you won't be able to see us. But we're ready for you.
that's
We're looking
okay.
forward to an update.
Yeah, absolutely. So I I entered the competition my senior year, and I entered in for an idea called GoPinion, which we've actually pivoted the company, but the idea was a B2B real-time users real-time survey company. So users would walk into a location, fill out a survey, and it would get sent to the businesses in real time. And the businesses then could respond to negative feedback. And so started at Colby. My partner was from Duke. And so, we were working out of our dorm rooms. I was making sales calls to Boston, which was pretty inefficient because then they'd ask for a demo and I'm in Maine, I can't do that. So that was a pretty interesting experience. But so we did that. We got 4,000 users, 100 businesses. And then we ended up actually beginning to start fundraising, which we're doing now. And what we saw was that in our data that users were using the product a lot differently than we initially intended. So rather than filling surveys, users were actually using it to message businesses about real-time information, like how busy is it? What's the, do you have any specials running? So we ended up pivoting now, and now we're doing a real-time consumer app called Spots, which essentially is real-time Yelp. So you'll be able to see all the locations in a city on a heat map. You'll be able to see how busy they are currently, and you'll be able to see how busy they are going to be later that night. And you can see any real-time events that are happening there. And we're really trying to build a really super simple experience on the mobile platform. But now to talk a little bit more about my experience with the business competition. What I got most out of the business competition was really having my first experience communicating with outside investors, and actually the pitching experience in general. Now, at least for, where our company is currently, we're in a constant fundraise. And I would say that is one of my, top 1 or 2 priorities right now, is making sure that, there's still gas in the engine as the company continues to progress. And so up until that point, I had not done a pitch, besides, pitching, my grandmother or my dad. So it was a really interesting experience. And so what I was able to do is, it really helped me craft my pitch. It really helped me, know how to, find out which problems business angel investors are going to look for in your business and which ones are going to highlight, and, know how to represent yourself and represent your, your business strong. And that really, I would say, was the most valuable part. I mean, the capital was really valuable. We ended up hiring our first intern ever with it. But, for, the invaluable experience that I got from just being in that setting of, sort of a simulated VC meeting, was really valuable for me. And it's something that, I'm doing quite frequently now. So it's, the skill set that, sort of started there, was really valuable for me. So, yeah. And that's currently where I am at.
Great. Thank you, Joey. We really appreciate the update, and we're glad things are moving forward. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. All right, so the judges are still deliberating, and they want to give their decision around 4. So we've got a few minutes. If you need to grab some water or something or use the facilities, please do, and then try to gather back in here around 4. Thanks.
The judges have made a decision, so I would love everyone to take a seat. And we're going to invite Jim Satloff, one of our advisory board members, to come on up and announce this year's winner.
Or want me to introduce you? Yes, okay. I was told actually not to say anything. I was just given new instructions. Before I present the check to the winning team, I'd like to introduce Dominic, who will talk a little bit about the judging process. Dominic?
Hey guys, this has been very exciting. I'm in venture capital and I look at a lot of ideas, about 1,000 every year. And I have to say that there's a bunch of really novel, really interesting businesses here. So this was a pretty difficult process for us. I know we also run long because I think we were asking lots of questions, which I think is another sign of the interest. So I think, first of all, just want to thank the process, because I know there's been a lot of work to get all of this together. And you started many months ago, and it's definitely worthwhile. I mean, from a professional perspective, I'm already, grabbing some ideas for the future. So that's great. So we ended up with a winner. Before that, I wanted to also give an honorable mention to another one of the ideas that we liked a lot. We liked everything, but obviously we had to make some choices. So the honorable mention goes to Wanu, to Jordan. We really think that you're onto something pretty interesting, and we'd encourage you to develop that. I think the one issue that we raised in our group, and I'd also raised it individually, is possibly the idea that in a mobile world, you may just want to start there. But obviously that's your choice. But anyway, great idea. And in terms of the winner, should I say the winner and then you can present the check? Is that?
Sure, if you'd like.
Okay. So the winner is Christopher Abbott at Sprout.
Ta-da!
Christopher, maybe to talk a little bit about what sort of led us to choose you. We were looking at three factors. One is, how quickly could you get to the market? Secondly, how quickly and how much capital would you need to get going? And could you do it with a relatively modest amount of capital? And thirdly, how sustainable was the business for the long term? And I think based on those three factors, we found that your idea and also your commitment and the fact that you really demonstrated deep understanding of the chemistry, you answered some difficult questions well. All of that gave us a feeling that you were ready to go, and that, a year from now, we're hoping to see this as a great business. No pressure.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
So thank you everyone so much for joining us today. I think the judges did not have an easy go of it today. We had a lot of great ideas presented. And what we'd love to end with is, again, in celebration of the 5th anniversary, please, if you haven't already, pick up a gift. We have some tablet pens, we have some earbuds, but most of all, please, everyone, let's have cake. Okay, we'll see you outside. Thanks a lot.